Hey, what's up, Geekscapists? Welcome to a brand new Geekscape podcast. I'm Jonathan. That's what the theme song says. Now it's time for Jonathan to start the show. Or, as Rickdo over on YouTube is watching already says, let's go. Let's start the show up. Some of y'all I've been talking to over on the Discord. I know a week or two ago, we were looking forward to the election, and we're like, hey, maybe we'll do an election night special. Katie and I joked about maybe Katie drinking herself to death. Those are the kind of things we joke about here on Geekscape. Yeah, well, that stuff is still going on, so we're not going to talk about the election. I don't want to be the dum-dum who is like, oh, yeah, this and that. I'm not qualified for that. I'm not. You turn on Geekscape because you want to hear about the Star Wars. If Katie and I think that we have something to say, maybe we'll say it in a future episode. But tonight, we're not doing that. We have more important things to talk about here on Geekscape, like the fact that the Mandalorian episodes are brand new and they're on Disney+. We saw that first one. It was awesome. And then we all sat in our homes on Halloween. I dressed as a pirate. We had a Zoom party. That's something that we're doing in 2020. And you know what? That's just the reality that we live in. And I get to eat all the candy I bought. So I'm not going to complain. There's been a lot of complaining this year. And I don't think you come to Geekscape for the complaints. You come for Jonathan's in-depth analysis about the current X-Men books. They're not very good. You want to hear about the Star Wars? You want to hear my ridicule of Batman as a dickhead one percenter? And let's see, maybe some video game talk from Katie, who is a much better host than me and a much better video gamer, no matter what Incelbot says. Katie's actually been hiding in my attic, so let's go ahead and add her to the show. Katie, how are you? Welcome. Have you had a good week? Did you have a good Halloween?
Yeah, it was a very fun Halloween. I put pants on for the first time in probably 9 months.
That was your costume was Katie 2019? Is that what you went as?
That was exactly what it was. I called it a period costume because it was from a different era. But yes, no, I'm loving your attic, by the way. It's very spacious. It feels a lot like my game room, personally. It's very lit.
I'll let you know when it's safe. And you can come down.
You.
And then you can cook for me because I'm 1950s. I'm still going. I'll do it. I don't care. You know what?
If you want me to cook for you, you're gonna get pizza with ice cream. Is what you're gonna get. It's gonna get weird.
Every single Geekscapist listening just said, "Can Katie come to my place?"
Dude, it's the best. You put a scoop of vanilla ice cream on a pepperoni pizza. It's the best. I've said this on multiple podcasts, on multiple shows. It's awesome.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Listen, if you're lactose intolerant, I get it. Don't do it, but it's great.
Double the ice cream, double the cheese. That's a pretty bad thing there. We got a great show today, Geekscapists. This week we got Chris Demakes. If you remember, before the quarantine times, Chris was actually on the show in person. I went down to Redondo Beach where he was on part of his solo acoustic tour with a bunch of other solo acoustic musicians that are usually like in bands and stuff. But this was, I think, the first time Chris was taking the road as an acoustic solo artist. It was awesome. We had him on the show. Remember doing Geekscapes in person? Wasn't it fun? The only thing I miss is y'all in the comments and watching live. So we got Chris here. He's going to be talking about a brand new book coming out. It's called Blast from the Past. You can actually pre-order it. It's going to ship on December 8th. And you know what? Right around the corner from that, you're going to get a new Less Than Jake album that we also talked about in that February episode before the quarantine times when Chris was on the show. And now all these things are coming to fruition. So don't think that you've just been frozen in 2020 in some doom year, all right? The people who survive are the people who evolve, and nobody has actually been busier than Chris. He started a podcast this year. It's my favorite podcast. I listen to it right away. And then I go and I post like, hey, I listened to it. It was a great episode. I'm such a freaking stan. It's embarrassing. But I've been a Less Than Jake and Chris Demakes stan since like I was 14, 15 years old. So I'm not going to delay. We got a lot to talk about. Maybe he's seen The Mandalorian. Maybe he is the Mandalorian. And let's get him on the show. Chris, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. We got somebody saying, Mike Oliveira says, Johnny Quest doesn't like ice cream on pizza. Katie, what do you got to say to
You know
Mike?
what? Johnny Quest is wrong. I'm sorry. It's just, it's the fact. Chris, have you ever had ice cream on pizza?
I can't say I have, to be honest with you. That's
are you willing to try?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I eat pig uterus in Japan. I'll eat anything.
You ate what?
Yeah, we been very adventurous in our our food exploits around the world. Yeah, pig uterus. I had stomach entrails from an ox. Yeah, some weird stuff.
That's like delicacy, I think, in some of the British Isles, though. Like, let's not get too crazy. You know, there's like, so some of Katie's relatives are like, oh, that ain't no thing. We eat that. Like, hey, if you go home for Thanksgiving, you're eating that ox stuff. Katie, don't lie.
Absolutely.
Another delicacy was beef tendon, and it was like chewing on tires, like pieces of rubber.
I have to ask, where on the menu was pig uterus? Was that like the #1 special, or was that like down a couple?
I have to be honest. Our translator, he pretty much orders everything for us when we get into those places. So yeah, he I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
Was he messing with you, though, Chris? Was he like laughing behind his your back?
Yeah, they get a kick out of it. The translators, because they know that old Whitey here hasn't eaten too many big uteruses in his time, so they like to have fun with us.
Katie, you got to get cultured. That they were just at a McDonald's. It's just a Japanese McDonald's. Like, they have it on the menu.
They have it on the menu.
So don't be such an American white girl. Like, that stuff is my brother, before he was on the WWE roster, he was wrestling. You wrestling fans will know what I'm talking about. He was wrestling for a company called New Japan. I think they're absolutely still around. But he would go to Japan and wrestle for New Japan, and the bookers would just fuck with him. They would just straight up mess with him. And he never knew what to expect. And one time, and there was this one booker in Tokyo who would just show up and be like, we got a top flight surprise for you. Top flight. Paul comes back to his room, and there's a call girl.
Oh.
And he's like, what the fuck? I just want to go. She gave him a massage, and then he just asked her to leave. And he's like, I can't. This is too weird. I can't do it. That's my baby brother. If you're thinking about whether or not the morals run in the family, no, it's just him. Me, I would have been like, keep going and let me invite 3 friends, and shit's about to get real weird. Mike's back with Big Mac with cow uterus and cheese. I think that's a #7 on the menu.
But yeah,
chest. Yes, of course.
No, I'm surprised you haven't been doing that stuff like during COVID. Remember the whole COVID, like, people started experimenting with food. Like, that was a whole trend where, you know what I mean? Like,
you make bread.
Yeah, every motherfucker made bread. What is up with that?
I don't know. I did not make bread.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you try any other weird experiments or anything?
No, I haven't. To be completely frank with you, besides raising my children and all that other stuff, I work about 70, 80 hours a week. I haven't had time to make bread, but I do love bread, and I'm kind of hungry now, and I wish I had some.
Oh no! Now we're making you super hungry for pig uterus and bread.
Yeah.
Katie, Les and Jake fans know that the first thing that they did, because again, I'm a huge Les and Jake fan, have been, will be my entire life. Right off the bat, touring wasn't going to happen. Les and Jake said, "Hey, we got to look out for our tour managers, our road people. We got to look out for them." They actually put out some really amazing songs, 3 songs. All the proceeds, correct if I'm wrong, Chris, they all went to your road crew.
Well,
is that right? Oh, you put out 1 song for the road crew, and I think 3 more for.
Yeah, I put out 1 solo, and then we put out three songs we were giving to charities during that. So we were giving money to different causes for the 3 songs. It was called the Lost at Home Sessions, and we did 3 tunes. We were gonna probably record a song a month, but it started bleeding into the new album coming out, and didn't want to, cross pollinate or be getting too close to the record coming out, because the album, as I had told you earlier this year, we were projecting maybe an April release, and it just kept getting pushed back, and now it's December 11th, because we were pretty adamant. We told the label we're putting out Pure Noise that we got to get this thing out this year. And I think it's a great time to release records right now. People aren't out spending money at shows, they're not going to sporting events. A lot of bars and bowling alleys and restaurants and things are closed. So, some people do have a little bit of, disposable income that they will spend. So I think it's a good time to release music.
Yeah, Katie, like, don't be baking bread. Like, this guy, he's making bread for other people who actually deserve it, not you stuffing your face. Okay, Katie, like, let's be clear. Your priorities are whack. Maybe they've improved, but they started out pretty whack.
It's true. It's true. I had weird priorities. But it sounds like you have had quite the full plate these last couple of months. I mean, raising kids, you're also creating an album. You're doing a lot. Tell us about like how you balance all that.
Well, I got off the road last year. We had played one final show November 1st in Gainesville. We played this festival called The Fest. And we immediately went into recording our record 3 days later. We started the album. And we did that for the better part, about 3 weeks in November. And then we broke for about 2 weeks. And then we came back in for like 2 days in Gainesville and recorded some overdubs. And when I got home in December, I just, I don't know, I kind of, it's like a reset button. It wasn't a midlife crisis. It was, but it was me reflecting and going, wow, I'm kind of on the back nine. I'm on the second half of my life right now. I'm middle-aged, mid-40s, and what else is there for me? And I just had a friend of mine who was going through something. Her father had passed away a couple of years ago. She's had a really hard time with it. And long story short, I wrote a song for her, and it just blew her away. And the light bulb went off, and I had already had this book, Blast from the Past, in the works. I had started that back in, I don't know if you know the whole story with that, Jonathan, or if
I don't.
If I had even told you. So December 5th of 2018, and I'll lead up to what I was just talking about. December 5th of 2018, I put a random post on Instagram, and there was a picture just of the past of, my travels with the band. And I just put a little caption, and it was funny. I think that I had said something like, I'm going to post one of these every day for a year, until I pass Roger in Instagram followers. Okay. And JR, sax player, was quick to write. He says, you won't make it 2 weeks. And I said, I'll show you. It dawned on me about 3 weeks in. So this was late December 2018. I woke up one morning and I put a picture up and did a story with it. And I realized that I was writing my book one day at a time, and I was going to do 365 pictures with an accompanying story to it. And that was going to be my book, because I had done different outlines over the years. Dave from Big D and the Kids Table, Dave McWayne, had given me an outline of how to put a book together. And I talked to a couple other people that had written books, and I've read every rock and roll biography there is. I love them. And mine kind of started like everyone else's. Hi, I'm Chris. I was born in Michigan in 1973. And I was like, and I would get a paragraph or two, or in some instances, I think was up to like 2 or 3 chapters. And it just wasn't, interesting me too much. And so when I did the Instagram thing, I realized I'm writing my book one story at a time. So it's kind of just random, the book, and it came out great. I can't wait for people to see it.
Yeah.
So
as we all know, writing a book is very easy to do. But that's amazing that you found the inspiration by just kind of doing these like daily, almost like reflections in a way.
Yeah, it was almost like a reverse journal. It was journaling the past into the present. And
wow.
Yeah, it was really cool to kind of, the light bulb go off. I'm like, the realization of, wow, this is what I'm doing. And I set out to do it. And it was actually at the fest last year that I spoke with, there's the graphic. Geez, Jonathan, you are on it, man.
Tech savvy, man.
I met with a couple guys from Smart Punk Records, and they had never put out a book before. And they said, we want to do this. And they're fans, and their enthusiasm was through the roof. And they're a label out of Orlando, Florida. And so, yeah, we started putting it together last year, and it's here. And as you know, it's there's all kinds of stuff. I'm doing songs with it to promote the book. So I got a 7-inch coming out. The first 2 songs are on that 7-inch. And I'm going to be recording songs over the course of the next year. So it's kind of like a book campaign for the next year and a half. So every couple months, I'm going to release the next 7-inch with new merchandise, new t-shirts. I got a calendar. I got a poster coming out with this. And you can go to, as you see the link there, ChrisDemakesABook.com. It'll take you to the Smart Punk site where all the bundles and everything's at. And it's really cool. It came out great.
Now, Chris, that's new information for me. The fact that you're going to remember when the Bouncing Souls did that for their album? They put out a song a month, and by the end of the year, I think they were putting out through Epitaph. I don't think that they were putting out 7 inches alongside them, but they'd compiled an album's worth of music over the course of 12 months. It's something that I've told Steve from Punchline to think about if they wanted to do like a subscription service. I thought it was what you were going to go with when you all did your quarantine songs, and maybe that was the plan before you realize you have to pivot to not doing 90 things in a week, Chris, please. But this is fantastic because after seeing you solo in Redondo Beach in January, February, whenever it was, I sent you a message and was like, hey, there was a song on there, not a Less Than Jake song, one of these Chris Demakes originals, and it just blew me away. I think it could be great as a Less Than Jake song. Sure, obviously that collaboration with Roger and the guys works. But this one had, you're always bashing yourself on your podcast. We're going to talk about your podcast, but you're the guy who's like, I can't write these lyrics. You're always like, my lyrics are literal. You don't write ephemeral lyrics. And I gotta say, I disagreed with you that night when I heard this one song, and I don't know the name of it, and I don't think it's either of the two songs on this EP, but I'm excited, or on the 7-inch, but I'm excited to see what you come out with over the next year to see if that's one of them, because there's an artist in you, damn it, and we're gonna yank it out. You're gonna find it.
Yeah, so the idea of the songs, well, backing up to what I talked about earlier, because it kind of all leads up together. So, I kind of had this epiphany, so to speak, and I just was basically like, well, who am I outside of my band? I know I'm Chris from Less Than Jake, and I've been fulfilled with this, and it's been awesome. But what else is there? So, the book, the podcast, other things we'll get into in a little bit of the writing the custom songs. I do video consultations that I'll tell you a little bit about that later, but I just wanted to stay busy. And this was all pre-pandemic. I had no idea that this was going to happen. So I had been doing this for, because the band wasn't going to tour again until April. So I had January, February, and March technically off from the road. We were going to play a couple shows, which we did. We did 2 shows down in Mexico and 1 in Costa Rica. And the last show we played was February 28th. We played a casino up in Connecticut. That was the last time we got on stage together. But I had those months where I knew that I was predominantly going to be home. And so I just dove into these projects. And once I realized that we're not going anywhere anytime soon, then I really, really planted my feet and got into it. So the thought of the songs for the book, the idea of it was, especially these days, like a Less Than Jake record is going to get, a lot of attention because Less Than Jake is way more known, I guess, than just me, myself, solo. Me putting out a 12-song solo record, it's out and then it's done. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to give the book some longevity. I wanted to do a book campaign for like a year and a half. So, the book will come out with the first bundle of all the merchandise and associated items with it and all the stories from the past. With 2 songs, and then every couple months do another 2-song 7-inch. So after 18 months, I'm going to have, basically, my goal is to have 10 songs by that point. I'm going to do like 2 songs as a holdover, and then I'm going to press it into a full length. That'll be my full length solo.
Wow.
That's insane. That is just, but at the same time, Chris, it's an incredibly organic way to do it. It's not like you got to the point where you said, oh, well, this is the juncture in my career where the guys are kind of doing their things, and if I'm going to get a window, I'm going to do it. And then you kind of went in and had to make it, like you said, through the live journaling that Instagram gave you, through just this window that came out of doing this anyway, through the pictures. This is all kind of started organically, and it has kind of been an organic process, even if you're hell-bent on making yourself work 80 hours a week, which is not organic. It is not human. I see some of the productivity that you put into your work, and I'm like, this dude doesn't quit. How much of that was built on this DIY attitude that we grew up with? And Geekscape I've talked about that for 15 years. It's why Geekscape exists, is growing up in the punk rock scene of Austin and putting these shows together and becoming fans of bands like Less Than Jake. And just that whole DIY culture is why Geekscape is and has always been its own thing. How much of that has given you this, let's just call it creative stamina, to put out all this prolific stuff?
Well, I think a lot, for me, and plenty of people do side projects in bands. Guys in my band, Vinny had done stuff outside of the band for years. Roger had done stuff. I just never could get, I don't even want to say the word motivated, but I like to, when I dive into something, I like to give it my all. And when you're in between a tour, as much as we've toured over the years, where it's like you're home for 2 weeks, it's like, okay, I'm gonna start writing my book. Okay, I'm gone again.
Right.
Granted, write a book on the road, but the distractions, it's a different lifestyle out there. It's, trying to, when you're home and you're able to have a regimented schedule, it's a lot easier to get things done. So, I was able to look at this differently. Yeah, certainly from a DIY aspect, do it yourself, but, going back to that, whatever you want to call it, that, that realization that I had of like, it's kind of the back half of my life now, like, who am I? And I've been wanting to do stuff outside of the band, but I wasn't even so sure I wanted to do anything involved with music or anything. I was seriously thinking like, what else could I do? Could I go work for a marketing company or something? Just something else to fulfill me outside of the band. And I just kept coming back to, I spent 30 years cultivating this career in the band. I never reached outside of my band as Chris Demakes. In fact, the one thing that was a little, I don't want to say concerning, but I don't like regrets, but if I had a do-over, I was always Chris from Less Than Jake. That was the punk thing to do in the 90s.
Oh yeah, you had to be Joe Queer, Ben Weasel, Chris from Less Than Jake. It's the punk rock. The Ramones ruined it for all of you.
Yeah, I never branded myself, so nobody. When I started the Instagram thing, the pictures in December, and that's when I really started doing social media. I really realized I came late to the game, but I realized the absolute importance of it about 2 years ago. And I had like 5,000 Instagram followers. That was just because I was Chris from Less Than Jake. I didn't do anything to garnish those. They just, kind of came. And I'm up to over 16,000 now, which isn't crazy huge, but I, doubled my followers just because I worked it. I worked it before, and I had to really let people know who Chris Demakes was. Chris from it's the dude from Less Than Jake. Oh, okay, I know who he is. So that's really what I've been doing is trying to get my name out there, and I realized that I had 30 years in the business, that anything that I want to do, those fans are there. They'll support my projects as long as they're cool. I can't just throw crap against the wall. It has to be.
Don't overestimate me, Chris. I've already pre-ordered the album. I've already pre-ordered the book in the 7-inch. I got to think of is there any way that you can mail me crap in a bag? Is there you do sign it or anything?
It's funny you say that. We do have we call them our super fans, and God love them. That they'll literally buy anything.
Anything.
They'd probably buy it.
Bold T on YouTube says midlife crisis, real talk on Geekscape. Respect. Bold T. Dude,
I didn't say midlife crisis. I said
if you're a longtime Geekscapist, like, come on, this show has been my Truman Show. Y'all saw me get married. Y'all saw me get divorced. Y'all saw me do a million things. And just a giant secret, Heidi and I, we're doing next stage life stuff that y'all are probably going to be in the passenger seat for too.
Somebody's going to have a baby.
Let me just say this, okay? Because this is a funny story, and I'll just say this, Geekscapists, you won't get anything out of me. This past week, I went to a doctor's office to have the most expensive masturbation session I've ever had in my life, just to make sure everything is working. And everything works. I'm half Hispanic. It was gonna work. All right. I've got super sperm, but I gotta tell you,
you never let the ladies masturbate for a bunch of money. Like it's
I had to pay. I had to pay a doctor to analyze this stuff. I went into this thing, and it's just like it is in the movies that make fun of this stuff, Katie. It was a seat with plastic on it, facing a TV with a DVD, and like an IKEA rack with DVDs and pornos in it. And I walk, and Heidi is texting me. She's like, "You want me to come with you?" I'm like, "No. What would you do?" And I went in there. I knocked this shit out like a machine because it was the least sexy thing of all time. And I texted Heidi. I was like, "All right, I'm gonna go grab lunch. I'm done." And she goes, "Wow, that was fast." I'm like, "I've been practicing for this moment since I was 14. All right, you said you wanted to come along. What's next? You gonna tell Michael Jordan you want to try and shoot his free throws? We're professionals, Heidi. We don't need you to do the stuff we've been practicing our entire lives. We're really good.
You did come along. You did come along.
It was the least sexy thing of all time.
You just went from midlife crisis to sperm clinic in 2 seconds. That was good.
I would agree. That did make a big jump.
I just got to tell you, I think what I'm saying is the Geekscapists, they know all of it. Bold T, none of this shit is new. You've seen multiple crises for me. And And actually, there's a
I just
thing
need
that,
to be clear. I needed to be clear, Chris. We
Yeah.
are not saying you're in a midlife
Yeah.
crisis.
No. And both
He
teams,
is.
I needed to go to a doctor to analyze them to make sure they weren't swimming around in circles. But I will tell you in all sincerity that one thing that whenever I'm writing a screenplay, and something that I learned years ago, and it works for short films, it works for feature films, maybe it works for songs, maybe not. But in a script, in any kind of story, a character in the first half of the story is pursuing what they want. Halfway through the story, they discover what they need. And so when you think about a tragedy, for instance, it's a character that gets what they need, but maybe loses what they want. Or a movie like that is like a moral lesson, like Precious, Precious Gems with, or I think Wolf of Wall Street's one of these, is a character that gets what they want, but never discovers what they need. So you're like, oh shit, that's like a moral warning. But I think it's true for life too. I think that we go through those first half of life, like you said, that first 9, and we are pursuing what we want. And once we get to that point, we start to think, crisis or not, this is what I need. And that is what you start chasing. And it takes you a while to find. Maybe you're like, oh, I want to go work for a marketing company, but you realize what you need and what you want, those are all parts of the same journey. So even though there's a tangent there, you have built an established life that is the podium to which you're going to move on to the next thing. That is what you've built. You deserve it. You earned it. And that's your power. Does that make sense, Chris?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad that I never deluded myself over the years with putting out a bunch of stuff that, again, if I'm going to put something out, I really want to put my heart and a great effort in it. And I have a great back catalog of work with the band that I can always stand by, and that, we can go out and play those songs and people are going to show up, and it's a great thing to have. But this is kind of cool that all of a sudden I'm just, boom, doing these projects now. It wasn't like, yeah, he's kind of messed around in the past. This is kind of, new territory, but I'm glad I did it this way. For the longest time I kept saying, should I do a solo record? And, at some point I just realized, do I really want to do that? And I just didn't have that creative spark or that passion. And then it just, within the last about year, it just kind of hit me, and it's kind of all become crystal clear. And a big part of this was March of this last year, when I do these custom songs and jingles for fans. I just wrote and recorded yesterday. I sent it to the person, my 121st custom song in 9 months.
Wow. Okay.
In 9 months. That's the part that's crazy, is the compression of time in which you've done this.
Yeah. And do you by any chance want to rebrand yourself as the new James Franco of 2011?
He doesn't stop working. He's going to show up in everything.
Well, it's just, I work out of the home. So really, it's not like there's no travel time. I'm not commuting 45 minutes to a job. I just get up and I come down. My studio is down in the basement of my home, and I go to work. And it's nice. It's nice to be able to do that. So I started doing the custom songs, and I wanted a video to go with it, an animated video. And my friend, who is now my manager, Chris Fafalios.
Wait, you're allowing that guy to manage you?
I know, right?
He's a criminal. He's a criminal, Chris. And he's been on this show, and he has a show on our Geekscape network. But I got to tell you, I gave it to him because otherwise it was prison. I can't good conscience let that guy out on the street.
Hey, be careful the company you keep. I hear you, Jonathan. I hear you. But, so Chris is doing that. He's also producing Chris Demakes A Podcast with me, and we do that together. And so he did this animated video promoting my custom songs. I had hired him for it because I had known that he did that. And it was weird. It was just, I joke about him with it, about it now with him. I say it's kind of like, when the honeymoon phase, where like a week went by and we were talking every day, and there was all these ideas going, and finally I was just like, man, I realized like we're kind of working together. We're collaborating, we're talking. And one day out of nowhere, he just said to me, this would have been early May of this year. He said, you need to do a podcast. And my reaction to him was, no, I'm not doing a podcast. And most of them are terrible. And Not you. Not
No, listen, there have been phases. In over 15 years, there are a couple of years I wish I could erase, but I won't out of posterity and the fact that this is a Truman Show and it's going to bury me in the grave. The Katie years are good. Those will be remembered as good, Katie.
Yeah.
They're not going to like it when your character gets killed off, though. They're not going to like it. Yeah.
But then I'll come back as a zombie. It's fine. We'll work on it.
We can always hope. Katie, she lives in my attic right now, so. Chris works in his basement. I got my co-host in the attic.
How was it when you started to like collaborate with people that were outside of Less Than Jake? Like, was that something that was kind of groundbreaking for you, or was that something that was like a fun exploration that you might branch out to other regions?
Well, I had collaborated with people, over the years with just, singing on a person's record or doing this. So collaborations weren't so much foreign to me, but this was a different aspect of, I'm having someone represent me and I'm working with somebody outside of the band. So it was, something that I'm cultivating and creating. And the podcast, all it was when we started it was a vehicle to get my projects out there and tell people about my custom songs, I do live one-on-one Zoom video consultations. And this could be anything from song collaborations. I produce songs with people. They'll send me a song 2 days ahead of time. I'll listen to it. We'll get in there and break it. And I love it because I'm able to produce without being there from the very beginning. Okay, write all the songs. I get the song in the 11th hour, and then I get to elevate the song. And I think that's where I shine. And I think it's awesome. I had all these different things that I'm doing, and Chris was like, "You'll be able to use the podcast as a vehicle for that." And I woke up the next day after he had mentioned this to me. And I said, "You know what?" I just went to my phone and I just cold texted like 20 rock star friends of mine. And it was a week later from that. So within 10 days, that first week, we recorded, I think, almost a dozen episodes that first week. We had like 3 months of content for the show. I just dove right in and did it. And it's been so rewarding and so cool. And Chris, he was very integral to he said, we have to have a theme. It just can't be you go on and just BS. He says, you have to I want you to have a theme. And because you're doing these custom songs, the theme should be songwriting and it should be specific, a career defining song from your guest, career that you can discuss, critique, and analyze during the show. And it's been great. We had, it was 65,000 plays last month.
Wow.
I love this show so much. And I'm not being facetious there, Chris. You know that I post a comment after every episode.
Oh, I see it there.
And what's great about the show, and Chris hosts a similar show about one-hit wonders on the Geekscape network that is also my favorite show on the Geekscape network. But what I love about this Chris Demakes A Podcast is that as a filmmaker, I'm a writer and a storyteller, and as a musician, I am awful. But getting into music videos way back in the day, and that was about as close to becoming a musician and understanding that language as I believe I'm going to get. And that's just associating the audio and the beats and the tones and the bridges and the different breakups of the song that I don't even know are the right things with images. And when I listen to the show, I just gain such an appreciation for these songs that for the most part, I'm so familiar with because they're bands that I love and groups that I love. And those thousands of plays you got, I mean, some of these people just right out of the bat, you had John Feldman from Goldfinger on. Then you followed it up with Bowling for Soup. And then you followed it up with just some of my favorite bands. And you got Mark Hoppus on. That episode went bananas.
Yeah.
Because it was a fantastic episode. Just ultimately, it was a fantastic episode. But also, the news cycle picked up on it because of the different factoids revealed in it. And ultimately, you're just a really good host, Chris. And I think that it comes out of some of the same places that the best. Like when I think I've done a good Geekscape episode, I'm actually interested in the guest. It's not just Jonathan waiting for their mouth to close so he can say some stupid line. Sometimes I'll admit those episodes happen, but you're a sincere guest and you're coming from a place of knowledge and vast experience, and it makes those shows better. Even when you've had an episode, as you've had, where it's someone new, you aren't familiar with their music, but I'm thinking about the girl in Pittsburgh that Chris had on your show.
Yeah, Sierra Sellers.
Fantastic episode. I didn't know her from Adam. fantastic episode. I didn't know this last episode, even though I'm a big fan of Mike Park and the Bruce Lee band. I didn't know what's his name. I still don't know his name. Jeff Rosenstock. But man, I've played that song on repeat all week since listening to that episode. It's just a great educational music podcast. You make a great product, and it comes from, I got to give you props, your years of experience and your extensive knowledge and passion.
Yeah, well, and you know, it would be difficult for me to do a podcast where, you know, I don't, like you said a moment ago, I don't really know this guest or really care for their music, and I'm just going to kind of get through it. That's the thing I love about the theme of the podcast is, you know, and there's going to be, I'm going after some people that are like, you're getting him on what? And some of these songs, it's something I would listen to. I would even say that I hate some of these songs, or I hate the strong word, but I highly dislike some of these tunes, but they still interest me and fascinate me as much as a song that I love. Like, What's My Age Again by Blink. I've always loved that tune. Diving into that with Mark, someone I've known for years, was awesome. But I'd be just as into talking about, I'm not going to mention any bands, but you know, some song from back in the day from a band that I hated. Every time it came on the radio, I would turn off. I'd love to see what made their head tick and how they wrote that song, came up with that. That's fascinating to me. And I think that comes across in the episode. And that's been the great thing, which I'd like to plug, the Chris Demakes A Podcast Facebook group. If you haven't joined it, please do. Great interaction in there, lots of fun. And Chris Fafalios will go in there, and Jonathan, as you know, and he'll be commenting. And it was great. He said, what's been your favorite episode so far? And it wasn't just like unanimously like Mark Hoppus or, you know, Laura Jane Grace. Every guest, all 23 people, were mentioned in there by somebody. Which tells me that they're tuning in for the content of the show, not just who the guest is.
Right.
Yeah. And Bold T just subbed. He's going to check out the podcast. So another Geekscape crossover to the Chris Demakes universe. I got to tell you, Geekscape is building this show and being in wait, what were we? Back in 2005, 2006 when I started podcasting, and saying I want to do a show where we get to collaborate with Stan Lee, and we did. Making a show where we get to have like amazing people and creators on our show, and did. Like, there's like right up there with Stan Lee, right up there with some of the people we've had on the show, is the music that I love. And Chris is one of those musicians, like Less Than Jake. Like, you should have seen me in Redondo Beach in February, shaking, super nervous, checking my Instagram messages with Chris, being like, damn, I get to talk to Chris. I'd talked to Vinny, and as y'all Geekscapists know, we talked to Vinny this summer about his Inevitables project. That album just came out. I've been listening to it all week. Fucking love it. Can't wait for the comic. You Geekscapists, like, go support some of these people that hopefully I'm bringing to your radar over Geekscape, because that is what I want to do. I want to, like, if anything, indoctrinate you to make you as messed up as me. But really, I'm just so passionate about this stuff that I want to share it with y'all. And while you're subscribing to Chris Demakes A Podcast, go out there and let me find the little link. Go to lessthanjake.com and pre-order Silver Linings. This is the first Less Than Jake full album, I believe, in 5-6 years. And it sounds awesome. It sounds awesome. I mean, Geekscape, I can't tell you enough. You're going to subscribe to the podcast. Chris Demakes A Podcast. It's my favorite podcast. I know. I should be a homer and tell you it's horror movie night on the Geekscape Podcast Network, but it's not. It's Chris Demakes A Podcast.
After we hang up?
What's that?
You charge me for all these kind words after we hang up?
No. Just keep making music, Chris. And in all honesty, like, and I'm being sincere on this one. What I said earlier about like the second half of your life, and I'm feeling it now. I'm 41. I clearly had to like go and make sure all the systems were working at 41. I'll be 42 in a month. Like, I'm starting to discover that life is not about what you want at this stage. It is about the clarity that you achieve at this point and saying, oh, it's about what I need. And the things that I'm seeing come out of you, Chris, and the things that I'm also seeing come out of Vinny or Frank Portman. I'm a big Dr. Frank fan, or some of the comic book artists or actors or directors that we've had on the show. Some of the stuff that I'm starting to see come out of you, people I've been fans of for 20 plus years, are some of the best stuff ever. And I know you have to battle an old catalog. You show up to the Less Than Jake show and people just want to hear Losing Streak. They just want to hear Hello Rockview. y'all are a bunch of suckers because Silver Linings is probably the best album y'all have done.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Oh no, sorry. I didn't know you were finishing up, John. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's it. Like,
have you heard the full record? Did you get a copy of it?
I didn't, but I've heard the 2 songs, and I've told Chris I told Chris Fafalios I don't want to do anything. If y'all want to talk about doing a music video down the road or anything like that, I'd love to do it. I've already pre-ordered it, but like I'm just a fan, and the 2 songs that I've heard, and this, and I'm not going to say anything about like the difference between you. I don't think it's Vinny swapping out on the drum kit or the lyrics. I don't think it's any of that stuff. I think it's y'all becoming adults and becoming experienced artists and maturing into a different sound. Does that make sense, Chris?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I think every time we go to make an album, we try to push the envelope a little bit and, still retain who we are, but, try to, do something a little different or push ourselves musically. But, I was going to say something about, because that's a conundrum that artists get into of, I want people to hear my new stuff. And of course we do. And that's why we continue to make music, because that's why we started this. When we started the band, we were creating songs. We hadn't even played a gig yet. We were creating songs. That was the reason that we did this, which leads to me having this realization later in life of, what am I doing this? Well, I'm creating songs, the custom songs, doing a podcast about songs. It all goes back to the songs. Mm. And, I have had a deep respect and now I look at it differently, to your point a moment ago of, you show up to the gig and people want to hear the old stuff. They want to hear the old stuff because they have 20 years of memories attached to those songs. They don't have, and I talk about this in the podcast a lot, and I embrace that now. If when we go out and people will say, and people sometimes even say, man, I haven't listened to anything you put out after Hello Rockview or after Anthem, but they're still at the show and they're going crazy. That right there is validation to me that we have a back catalog of songs that people love so much and have memories attached to, that there's nothing wrong with. I'll even go as far to say, yeah, we're a legacy act now. We're one of those bands that has a catalog that's so vast that has touched people over time, emotionally, lyrically. And I embrace that. I would love for people to hear the new songs, and we get them out there as best as we can to get them to hear it. And I think that if you were a fan of Less Than Jake back in the day, you're gonna love this record.
I think that you guys have been around long enough to be a classic rock band at this point. You can call yourself Legacy all you want. I want to start hearing you on some of those AM channels.
That is so weird to think that you guys would be a classic rock band.
Bold T. Bold T says the horror movie night live stream on Friday that we did to chair Geekscapists who don't know, it's probably up on the feed somewhere. But the horror movie night crew, we did do a 15-hour live stream on Friday to benefit Scares That Cares. That came out of our horror podcast. Matt did it. We promoted it last week. And Bold T says that was pretty great. More stream marathons. We got to think about what we would want to do for a stream. I think Matt is the masochist who wants to stream for 15 hours. But maybe if we find like the right amount of artists who want to pop in and do a charity live stream, we're always up for it. That's kind of the vehicle that we built Geekscape for, was to support artists and support charities. And if you go to another URL, I'm going to throw you, Chris Demakes A Difference. Is that right?
ChrisDemakesADifference.com.
.com.
Yeah. So every month we do a fundraiser and we give back. The first month we did Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Last month we did Gilda's Club of Middle Tennessee, which is benefiting cancer and those affected by cancer. And this month we're doing Hope for a Day, which is an organization that is making people aware of suicide prevention.
Wow.
That's huge.
12 charities a year, one a month. I run it for the whole month on the podcast, and it's been great. It's been Less Than Jake has done our best over the years to try to give back and use our platform, and I thought it would be it feels good to give back, and it would be a good look for the show. It's a good thing. It's you can never be accused of having that be a bad thing. So it's nice.
Well, when you exist as such a debaucherous band for so long, Chris, you got to give back somehow. But in all seriousness, y'all have always, the DIY method, growing up with all those groups and seeing how y'all operate with the spirit of charity and the spirit of making differences. And it's a very punk rock thing to do, is be like, hey, we're going to get involved. We're going to make a difference. It's something that we've wanted to do with Geekscape, and we do it. We've done multiple charities, like the one last Friday. And then Geekscape this is hitting the Geekscape store. These are our Heroes Wear Masks shirts. If you pre-ordered it this summer, I just wrote a check to the ACLU for 10% of what y'all bought this summer. And you all should have your shirts in the mailer there right now, but we're going to release those later. You'll get an email or something about that. I'll post about it. But I just got to tell you, Chris, like, I don't do a shirt like that to benefit something like the ACLU without growing up under that kind of influence that you have all provided. And I know I'm going to continue saying super nice things about y'all, but Geekscape, I want this to be important. A lot of this show and this brand and seeing us at Comic-Con and doing all the stuff that we do, it doesn't exist without a band like Less Than Jake. It doesn't exist without an artist like Chris. I take you're just a big influence on me, dude. Like, that's about it.
Well, and we're part of that world too. We were, before the Comic-Cons, there were things like Pez conventions, which are first called Pez Corps. And we got invited to the Pez convention up in, I think it was Sacramento in California years ago. And, we've been invited to a lot of the Comic-Cons, and, we're toy nerds and collectors, and our merchandise is just, over the years, we've had just tons of crazy different merchandise, and we do different dolls and toys. So the nerd toy collector, we kind of cross pollinate both worlds. And I think that's why so many people that are into our band are into what you're into, and vice versa.
Right.
They work well together.
Maybe we'll have you guys at Comic-Con. I know that we've hosted people like Nerf Herder and bands like that who all kind of live in your same sphere. We had DMC from Run DMC as our guest at the booth last summer, all summer, or at all Comic-Con. Maybe there's a collaboration in our future at Comic-Con. If y'all can't make it to Comic-Con, y'all can represent in person. Maybe we can have like a Chris book signing at Comic-Con, have the book there at the booth. You could be signing stuff, playing on your guitar, whatever you want to do.
Customizing songs.
It's a forum, it's a platform for you.
What I want to do in the future, once we can get back out there and be in front of a live audience, I want to get into all of those.
Yeah, once it's safe. Yeah, so let me just get this straight really quick. So far, you are customizing songs for several people. You are creating a new album. You are writing a book. You are doing a podcast. You are raising children on top of how are you juggling all of these different things?
Katie put on pants. She just wants to remind you that on Halloween, Katie put on pants. So
I tried to do push-ups today. I did 4 and I quit. So this is
I do CrossFit 3 days a week too.
I know. Man, you're making me look like the laziest piece of shit ever, which is great. It's honestly, it's inspiring and also damning for myself. But how are you juggling all of these things? And talk about your kids, man. I want to hear about them.
The thing about it is literally, it's if I were to get up in the morning and go work a quote unquote real job, me being up at 6:30, 7 in the morning, out the door for probably a commute. And then you get there and you work all day and have a commute back home. So, I wouldn't be able to, my kids are young, I wouldn't be able to get to see them too much with that type of thing, maybe the weekend, but then the weekend comes and then it's like, a lot of people, I worked all week, so now I'm not going to do anything. So for me, I like to work every day, but not to the point of burnout. I'm not burned out. This is all passion. And I can work for 2-3 hours and then I'll hear my children upstairs going crazy, running around. My son's almost 4, my daughter's 2.5.
Aww.
It'll be 3 next March. So I'm able to just stop what I'm doing and jump upstairs for 45 minutes and play with them and take them to the park, and then I'll come back and work for 3 or 4 hours. So I work kind of around the clock, and then I, pass out somewhere around midnight, 1 a.m, and I'm back up at 6:37, and I just do it all over again. But it's not like, oh man, you need to take a break. You're working too much. It's not work. It's passion. It's passion. It's and there is some days where I'm just like, you know what, I need to stop looking at the computer. I don't want to play the guitar today, and I don't, But for the most part, I just enjoy it, and my kids keep me young, and my lifestyle, the band has kept me young. I don't think as a person in their mid 40s, I think I'm still got tons of energy up here, and physically I feel probably better than I did in the 20s.
I'm sure that CrossFit's helping out.
Yeah. Bold T wants to know, what is your favorite toy? I actually own the Less Than Jake Pez Boy statue, like the vinyl that y'all put out a couple of years ago, but probably put out 20 years ago. But what is your favorite toy? Are you a big toy guy?
Not really. No, not like as an adult. I mean, I got a Pez collection, but there's been Less Than Jake stuff that like toys that we've done over the years that have been really cool. We did like a Evolution Kid, our mascot. We did a turn that that was really loud.
Yeah. I think that was outside my window. The riots have started. I got to go put on my purge gear. I've got that clown mask around here somewhere.
Lock in the attic.
Yeah, I'll wait.
Like Jake toys, like stuff like that. When I was a kid, I had all kinds of favorite toys.
Yeah, I love the I think that's what it's called, the Evolution Kid, the one that came on the Pez stand. I think that's what I have, the one that has like the little Pez stand. And Geekscape, if you're a Less Than Jake fan, go back to August or July and listen to the episode I had with Vinny. He's the toy freak who like went and like hunted down the dude who like runs the I don't know what it is, the what are those called, the Katie, those collectibles, those Funkos. The guy he went and he started a relationship with the guy who runs Funko, and they have a relationship still. And he learned the secrets of the toy stuff from the toy secrets from him. And it's insane. That was an interesting story that I'd never heard. And Geekscape, there's a lot of interesting stories. As big of a fan as I am of Chris and Less Than Jake, there's a lot of stories that I cannot wait to read in this book, Blast from the Past. I want to remind y'all right now, y'all, this is my birthday is on December 5th. I'm going to have to wait a few days for my gifts because I've already pre-ordered them. Heidi comes in and she goes, "What do you want for Christmas? What do you want for your birthday?" Because they come around the same. I'm like, "No, I got it. I'll take care of myself," because I already pre-ordered Chris Demakes A Book.com. I already pre-ordered the 7-inch and the book, and I cannot wait to hear some of those stories
around in your apartment.
Yeah, no, they found me, Katie. I think they found you, Katie. They found you. Go ahead and go to go to ChrisDemakesABook.com and find whatever package you want. I got the 7-inch in the book, but there's also 7-inch book, like hoodie, maybe T-shirt, poster.
Different T-shirts. There's a calendar, 2021 calendar. There's a poster. There is a bookmark, and there's an air freshener. Yeah. How pumped is that?
Check this out. Geekscape. I'll help you out right now if you're watching. Boom. There it is right there on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook or Twitch, there it is. That is like the whole catalog right there. You got calendars. You got bookmarks.
Yeah.
That's all. That's fantastic.
An air freshener. I need that for my room. I need a lot of those.
It's going to smell good. I was trying to get it to smell like a pack of Winston's or something. All that we could find.
That's fantastic. Do you feel, Chris, that you're ready to like be reintroduced to the population? Like, I don't know about you, but I definitely need a lot of these air fresheners at least on my body because I can forget to shower and things like that. Do you feel ready to be like, I don't know, reintroduced into the population?
I mean, as long as other people are, I'd go back out and play. But the fans have to feel safe, and people have to feel safe. So
it's true.
And Geekscape is, if you have not seen Less Than Jake live, that for the long time I think was before the internet, before like the word of mouth. The reason you guys got big was because you were an awesome live band, and you've always been a very amazing live band. The energy at your shows is just a party. I don't even want to call it a concert, Chris.
Yeah, no, it's a good time.
You got costumes. You got. I remember the first time. Amazing. I saw them with like a toilet paper like blower at Villanova. This is 1997, I think.
That's fun.
And y'all are out there with the whole leaf blower thing, just shooting toilet paper into the crowd. You've got the most ridiculous costumes. So you went through that costume phase. That's going to be in the book. Yeah. Order it. ChrisDemakesABook.com. Like you just, it's a party. Katie, I need you to bone up on these guests. I need you to like go, and we're going to have a quiz. Next week, we're going to have Less Than Jake quiz on the show. And,
very fun.
and your future as my co-host will be dependent on your score. So,
all right, checks out. All right, as long as I can live in the attic still. Okay. Chris, is there anything that you allow yourself to do in your free time other than work?
Yeah, I call it free time. The free time is just spent with my children. We, my wife and I get up and take them to. Tomorrow they're going to preschool, so we get up and take them there, and they get that's 2 days a week that they're there. They love it. They get socialized, and it's really good for them.
Sure.
And the rest of the time that's really my social life. There's not much going on when I'm off the road now. Even if stuff was open, I mean, I live in the middle of nowhere. I live up in the mountains, so there's nothing around here. There's no nightlife. I'd have to travel 35 miles to get to some nightlife, but I'm in that second. Like I said, that back half nine, especially when I'm off the road. I'm not looking to go to concerts or entertainment, or certainly be at bars and stuff like that. So, my free time is spent with my children.
Yeah, I'm just imagining you just like living in a cabin in the woods right now, with like the best studio in your basement.
Yeah.
I do, live about a mile up a mountain.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think Katie just wants you to join her like online gaming clan. And so that's what she's getting at. She's like, do you have enough free time to join my Twitch stream and play video games with me? Katie, listen. Katie, you literally put on pants for your Halloween thing. We're going to 2021 is going to be a better year for you. And Geekscape, so I want to remind you, there's the cover if you're watching this on the stream to Less Than Jake's forthcoming album, Silver Linings. That comes out December 11th. That's the second half of my birthday gift that begins with Blast from the Past and the 7-inch. The second part's going to be that album, Silver Linings. I can't wait for it. We talked about it earlier in the show. It's going to be awesome. And Jake over on YouTube says, fuck, I love Less Than Jake a little more each passing year. Stay awesome, my friends. You too, Jake. Thanks for watching and listening. And Bolt T has a question. He says, Jonathan subtly threatens Katie. She asks real questions to the guest. Great combo. Katie, I'm so glad you're my co-host.
Yeah, that's okay. So great threats. It's fun. It's great to have a woman.
Geekscapists don't want to hold. Chris has to go and do like 15 more things tonight before he hits the hay.
He's got about 14 more hours before he gets to go to bed.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Those kids are going to be 15 years old, and he's going to be like, oh, I stayed on this stupid podcast, and Jonathan talked about. We aren't going to repeat that one. Chris, thanks, dude, so much for not just being a friend of Geekscapes, but the output that you're doing as a fan. I love being able to have multiple Chris Demakes experiences a week, whether it's the podcast, the posts on social media. Again, go to, if you're watching this on Facebook, just click over and go to Chris Demakes A Podcast Facebook group. Go apply for membership. They'll let you in. Chris Falios is in charge. Tell him Geekscape sent you. And we'll talk to you there. What's that, Chris?
I said, there's no lock on the door. Come on in.
No lock on the door.
I was just going to say, Chris, is there anything that you have not promoted yet that you're working on? Like, what's your address? Where?
No, I think we covered it. I just want to thank you for taking the time to have me on the show again, and I wish you guys nothing best in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Well, we'll talk about the album in early December when it comes out, Geekscape. I'll be talking about it on the show. We don't know who the guests are going to be. I just keep them coming. I have so much fun doing the show. Thank you so much for if you've been a Geekscapist this whole time, I know you're out there. It's probably Matt Kelly. dude, you guys are growing up with me, and that is amazing. And we'll be doing this in person again very soon. As we've said on the show before, Katie and I's plan, and why I brought Katie in to be my co-host, was Katie and I were going to start doing live shows once a month here in LA in front of an audience, and we were going to do something like episode 400. If you remember episode 400, it felt like a late night show. It had we had the Suburban Legends as our house band, and we had guests, and we had so much fun doing that show live. I wanted to do that once a month, and we still have that as a goal. So what I want y'all to do is I want y'all to stay safe. I want you to practice kindness. I want you to keep being productive. Hopefully you're inspired by Chris as much as I am. He's definitely like, if he keeps putting out output, I'm like, I'm going to keep making stuff because Chris keeps making stuff. So I just hope that y'all are out there, no matter what's happening in the world at large. I know this has been a rough year. Geekscape is sincerely, I want y'all to practice the tenet of Geekscape and don't give in to the hate. We have the shirt. You can buy it on the Geekscape web store. Don't hate, create. And we really mean that. Like, when things get dark, that is just a reason to throw some of that fuel onto that fire that you feel and make a song, write a story, go and start a blog. You saw what Chris did, and it turned into a book. Like, just start sharing, and you never know who's going to read it. You never know where it's going to end up. It might be the beginning of a new career. It might be the beginning of a new hobby, a new passion. Don't let fear take over. Don't be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Just go out there and do it. Listen, we're playing with free money. Nothing in 2020 is really mattering right now. So just go out there and inspire yourselves and inspire each other. And that's what I got to say about that. Geekscapists, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all the socials. Just search for Geekscape. Be part of our fan group on the Facebook page, on the Geekscape Forever page. And obviously, pick up anything. Just Google Chris Demakes. Get that Less Than Jake album. Go to Chris Demakes a Book. Pre-order the book off of Smart Punk. And if you're making a little extra scratch this 2020, go to Chris Demakes a Difference and put it towards a charity that is deserving. I love what Chris and Chris are doing over on their podcast, and every one of their charities has been awesome. Chris, I'm excited to see what's next. I think it's all that I have left to say.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I'm excited to see what's next as well.
Okay. For Katie and Chris, Geekscape Forever, thank you so much for joining us tonight and this week. And you'll hear from us next time. Geekscape is